Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, back to the conversation of mindset and focus. Today, we're going to talk about I love this stuff. This is what I'm into, the neuroscience of attention. So, there's there are things going on in your brain that I'm gonna break it down. It may seem kind of boring to you, but to me, I get excited about it because it's actually things that your body really does. And hormones are released because we are doing things outside. So this is all automatic and we don't think about it, but I'm glad I get to get into this stuff and check it out and tell you guys about it too as well. Okay, first, let's focus on sustaining attention. That sustained attention that we talked about earlier in the previous conversation, your ability to stay concentrated on a single task, right? So I'm trying to focus on maybe drinking my water or something like that, or focusing so hard on my daily activity that I need to get that done, and not letting your mind drift off. Daydreaming, and daydreaming is not bad, those sometimes you get great ideas from daydreaming, but this is when you're dedicated. You need to dedicate your energy to that task. Your mind drifts away, or without getting tempted by other activities, so we're going to talk about that stuff, right? So when we engage in this type of behavior, there's specific things in your brain that are going on. There's a network. It's called the salience network. This is the network where in different brain regions that work together in order to decide, like, if this is important enough to direct my attention towards that thing. So this is my brain saying, that's important, that's not important, but this is important, and I need to take that and focus on that. So, of course, this is all done internally. We don't know what's going on, but that's what I'm saying. I love this stuff because I get to tell you how the brain is actually doing this stuff. And it's really cool, and it's real cool to understand when you break down the brain and what it does. But this is all going on internally. And it goes, and it's represented by the activities across the neurons that are going in your body and around your body. So as far as you are concerned about this whole thing, your brain. So if there was a car coming down the street and it was coming towards you, your brain sees the car coming down. There's no different from that car coming at you than what you're dreaming about. Like, oh, my car is this and that car is still coming, and it doesn't matter. Your brain is still in that active mode. So how does it decide to figure out what we want and what to pay attention to? So it appears that this is regulated by the part of the brain, right? Like I said, the salience network, it does all the stuff caused by the anterior cingulate cortex. So that's back here, boom, right there. This can direct our attention to two different types of routes that your brain has. One route is, they're both called attention networks. First one is called the dorsal attention network, and then the second one is called the ventral attention network. So we're going to break it down for both of those right now. The first type of attention network we're talking about is going to be the dorsal attention network. It represents our conscious decisions to pay attention to things like it's just what we consciously. So I'm concentrating on drinking this water. I'm concentrating on answering that phone. I'm concentrating on making my bed. Those type of things. It's the conscious thought process of you doing it. So when you decide that something is important and you need to pay attention, like when we sit in school sometimes and our teachers be like, oh, pay attention. You're like, it's boring. But then there's something like, oh, I have to pay attention. That is that network right there. And then this will release those certain hormones and neurotransmitters, such like dopamine and stuff like that, to denote that importance. Okay? Your attention will then be activated and active, driven by the dorsal attention network to that activity. So as Val was sitting there in school, and it happens a lot in school. This is a school thing. You're in school and you kind of drifting off and stuff, and then you see something and your teacher says, this is important. Okay, this must be important. And then when they say this is important, that catches you, You get going and you start writing and you start like really focusing. And that's where that intentions come from, and that's when that dopamine comes up, because you wake up all of a sudden and you're like, oh shit, I gotta really get this done, taken care of. All right. So now the latter is the ventral attention system. Meanwhile, it is reserved for other situations that require your attention, and when that's where it is stolen away by something that's interesting or shocking. So we always have this joke like squirrel. That is definitely what happens when you do that. You know what I mean? That is what the ventral system is designed for. That attention network, to make sure that it's all reflective. It's reflexive. So if something happens, boom, you react to it really fast. That's what that attention network is designed for. Its attention is out of our control. You know what I mean? You can try to be, try to not look and stuff like that, but most times something drops by you, most people, they jump like that. That's when you're jumping and you hear something and you move. That's what that attention network is for. That's when the dopamine and triggers are boom, and it drops into you like that. So it's something like, also like, say if you were like focusing on the notes, boom, 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 and somebody drops a book, boom, and you jump. That network just went, now all that dopamine, boom, just shot to the other network, and that was reserved for that type of situation. That is likewise when the release of the triggered neutrons and neurotransmitters that will force your attention to go straight into that ventral route, and that is the neuroscience of it. So the brain is cool. I love this stuff. That's why I just want you guys to know it, and I want to pass that information to you. So now when you go through those things, you know what that system is doing, and you know what your brain is doing, and you know what hormones, and you know what network that we're talking about. So next conversation, peace.